Hi everyone, and welcome to Creative Chelsea. If you like this video, please let me know by giving it a thumbs up or commenting below. If you want to see more of my videos, press the subscribe button and click on the bell for notifications. If you need any Stampin' Up! Products to make this card, you can visit my online store and the link is in the description box below. Today I'd like to share with you this simple card that I've made using some of the new products from the new 2020-2021 annual catalog. I've also used a fun new technique to make sure to get that embossed look from the dies in these leaves shapes. So let's go ahead and get started making this card. So one of the new products that we'll be using to create this card are the new ink colors for 2020-2022. And the two colors I'm using for this card include the Just Jade and the Bumblebee Cardstock. We're going to be using those along with the Forever Flourishing dies, and we're going to cut these out using our die cutting machine or a Big Shot. Now I want to just show you really quickly the Forever Flourishing dies. There are, 14 different dies. And you get a variety. You first get the ones that coordinate with the Forever Fern stamp set, and then you're going to get some that are just these really nice detailed leaf images. And we're going to be using this large one and this one today for our card. Another fun thing that we're going to be using that is new in the catalog is this Tasteful Textile Embossing folder. And it just creates a really nice texture to the cardstock that we're just going to be using in the back of this card. And so I just really love this one, and I've used it on a lot of projects. And we're going to be using that with some Crumb Cake Cardstock today. The next thing we're going to be using is this new designer series paper called In Good Taste. And there are so many beautiful patterns to this paper. We're going to be using this textile one that's kind of like a white cotton looking. And then on the back it's got this wood grain, and we actually are going to use the front and the back for our card. And we're going to be cutting out the nested label dies with that. And I'm just using a middle size. I number mine with 8 being the largest. So this one is like the third from the largest size. And I'm just going to be cutting 2 of those out at the Big Shot as well. Now I just want to show you really quickly all the different patterns that you can get in that paper pack. So there are 24 sheets in this pack. And so it is a little bit more expensive than the other designer series paper packs, but you get 2 each of these 12 different double-sided designs. And so you can see that they have a variety of textures. There's wood grain, tile, textiles, some really pretty blue tiles in there as well. So this is a really fun product that I'm going to be using for our card today. So another fun thing we're using on this card today is one of the gold hoops embellishments, and that's another new product in the catalog. And I'll just kind of show you what they look like up close, but they're pretty strong, they're pretty thick. You probably wouldn't be able to put this on a card that you wanted to mail, and you just would want to hand deliver the card. So these are called gold hoops, and you get 10 in a package. The greeting we're using today does come from the Forever Fern stamp set, and we're just using this simple hello, but you could probably find another greeting from a different stamp set that you have that would work for this card as well. So let's go ahead and start making our card. The first thing I'm going to do is cut some things out at the Big Shot. I'm going to start with the Just Jade and this large fern, and then on the Bumblebee we're going to go with this really pretty, more detailed leaf image. I'm going to cut 2 of this designer series paper pattern with my nested framelit die, and I'm going to take my embossing folder and my crumb cake, and this is 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches, and I'm just going to put that through the embossing folder, and then I will be right back. So those things have been now cut at the Big Shot, and I've embossed my paper with the embossing folder. I did want to mention that I do need to cut this piece for my greeting. And so I've just got a scrap paper that's that same DSP that we cut for that has this pattern on it. And I'm just going to stamp first, and then we're going to cut it out with one of these new labels. And this is the Tasteful Labels dies. So we're using a lot of new products today to create this card. And we are going to be using this one here. And there are 10 labels in that die set. These are 5 of them, and these 5 have a stitched border. And then on the other side, we're showing the other 5 labels, and they have more of a detailed edge that's embossed. And so we'll be doing that later, but I wanted to share with you that we are using another product as well. Okay, so before we remove the cardstock from the die, I want to share with you a way we can get a little more detail in this shape. So this die has some really pretty embossing in it, and sometimes my Big Shot or die cutting machine will do a good job of embossing it, but other times I just don't get that detail. And you can see here that I'm not getting it in this particular shape right now. So I wanted to add it because I really like that it's a big part of my card. And so I'm going to show you a way to make sure you get that detail. And we're going to do the same thing here for this big fern. It showed up a little bit on some of these leaves, but it's just not as strong of an emboss as I would like. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. So what I'm doing is I'm just removing the die, the paper from the die, and then I'm going to place the paper back into the die. So just line it back up and place it inside. I'm going to make sure that paper fits in there really nicely. I'm then going to take my pickup tool. I'm going to remove the pointy end, and I'm going to add my stylus. Now the stylus comes with a small side and a large, and I'm going to be using the small side for this technique because these are small openings that I'm going to try and emboss. So once that paper is in there and you just want to make sure it's secure, you're just going to rub that stylus into those grooves. So just kind of feel around until you can find it and then press it into that groove. And I'm just going to continue this until the whole leaf is done. Okay, so now you can see that we've got some really good embossing in that fern or leaf. And so now this one is ready for our card. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for my bumblebee shape as well. All right, so there's that one. And there's some really nice embossing, and I love the detail in this particular fern. So pretty. Okay, so now we're ready to put most of our card together. So I've just got my card base, and it is a Crumb Cake card base. It is 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches and scored at 4 1/4. Just gonna go ahead and fold along that score line. So before adding the embossed cardstock to the front of my card, I'm going to add our stitch nested label dies that we have cut out. I'm going to start by cutting one in half. And that's going to be placed up in the left top corner and one in the bottom right corner. And then I've got this one that's more in the center. So we're going to start with the one in the center. Just add that with a little bit of glue or adhesive. And what you're looking for is you don't want it to be totally centered here. You want it off to the right a little bit, and you want it to make sure that this is parallel with the edge so that nothing is crooked. And then go ahead and get your bone folder and smooth that glue out just slightly. Then you're going to add the one on top, and again, just a little bit of adhesive where it's going to touch your cardstock. And then just place it so that you have about 1/4 of an inch or so between these two top edges. And again, make sure that is nice and even there. And then do the same with the bottom. A little bit of glue and line that up with that bottom edge. So there's about 1/4 of an inch or so. Make sure everything's nice and straight. Use your bone folder to smooth out that glue. Now we're going to take a pair of scissors and we're just going to trim off this excess. So you can do this however you like. Probably easier to flip it over so you can see your line. If you wanted to use a paper trimmer, you could do that as well. And then this one here at the top. Okay, so now we can add this to the front of our card. And I'm just going to place a little bit of liquid glue here on the back, and that just helps me know that it's going to adhere really nicely to my card. Make sure it's going the right direction, and then just center that on your card. And you can open that up and give it some nice pressure so you know you've got a good bond. Like so. So the next thing we're going to add is this ring here. And the ring's going to sit at the bottom of our middle piece, and it's just off to the side a little bit as well. So I like to add these rings with this liquid glue, the multi-purpose. And the reason for this is because when it dries, it's still tacky. And so I'm not worried about this pulling off after it dries and the glue just coming off this nice smooth surface. I know some people might also want to use like glue dots and things like that. And you're welcome to try any type of glue that you have. So you're just going to place a couple dots of glue around the edge. I'm going to leave some big openings so that I can handle the hoop with my fingers and not get too much glue all over myself. And then, like I said, this is just going to go near the bottom and off this shape slightly. So somewhere like that. Now if you get some glue that seeps out, that's okay. We can always cover that up with our greeting because we are going to place our greeting down, and your greeting doesn't need to be, you know, in the exact place that I placed it. You can move it around to cover any little mistakes that you might have or glue that comes out. You could also take a paper towel or tissue or something and scrape up that extra glue as well. I think I'm just going to go ahead and do that with this little tip from my pickup tool and just kind of scrape up any glue that's coming out. Okay. I'm just rubbing that on some extra paper. Okay, so then we've added our gold hoop. And the other thing that's going to keep our gold hoop down is replacing these ferns over the gold hoop. So that way that it's another element that's going to hold that gold hoop onto our card. So I'm going to go ahead and just do the same thing. I'm going to add some liquid glue here, and I'm going to just do it, you know, every couple leaves or so. I'm not going to worry too much about doing it on every single leaf. something like that. This just goes on our label pretty much in the center. You can put it at a slight angle if you want. Just go ahead and lay that down over your gold hoop. And then we're going to do the same with this yellow fern. And these ones aren't as many, so if you wanted to do one on every little leaf, you could do that. And then this goes off to the right a little bit, so it's not just straight on like the other one. Just give it good pressure until that glue sticks. We did not add a lot of glue, so we just want to make sure that it's starting to stick. So something like that. And now we're going to stamp our greeting. And this again is that same paper we used for the background of our images, but I'm just flipping it over to the wood grain side. I'm going to be using the Hello from the Forever Fern stamp set, and I'm using the Early Espresso ink. So when I stamp, I want to make sure, because this is a rubber stamp and I can't see directly through it, I want to make sure that I'm stamping it even and straight. And so I'm just going to use my grid paper. I'm going to line it up so that my Hello is lined up where I want it along a grid line. And then I can kind of estimate how it's stamping. If one end is a little bit higher than the other, or if it's coming down a little lower. So I'm lining it up on this grid line here, but it looks like it's lower than my sticker on top. So I just need to remember that, and so then I can adjust it and try to get it directly on that line. So you can see that I just moved it up slightly higher than I did before, and it lined up pretty well. So I'm just going to stamp this in the center of my strip. And this is just a scrap strip, so it doesn't have to be a certain size as long as it's going to fit the label that I want it to use. So again, we're using the Tasteful label dies, and I'm just going to pull out this banner shape, and I'm going to place that over my Hello, and I'm going to cut this out at the Big Shot. So I'm done cutting that out, and you can see how cute that label is with that nice little stitching around the edge. So we're going to add this to our card, and we can place it down low like I did, or we can do it in the middle to kind of cover up that extra glue that came out. However, you can see that glue's dried up and you can barely even notice it. So I'm going to add this with some dimensionals. And I've just got the mini size here, and I'm just going to place them in the center of this greeting so that it doesn't affect the gold hoop. And I think I am going to just do it more in the center of this hoop, just for some interest and to try something different. And so that card's all done. So this card has a really simple layout, but using all those fun different die cuts and the fun gold hoop embellishment really steps up the card and makes it really beautiful. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe, like, and share. Visit creativechelsea.com for a free tutorial of this project and to purchase the supplies needed. Have a creative day. Bye.